Good afternoon. Susie, do you mind starting the broadcast?
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody in the room and those joining us online to this evening's meeting of South Oxfordshire District Council's Cabinet. My name is Maggie Filipova-Rivers and I am chairing this committee, and I'm also leader of the council. We have a really hefty agenda, so hopefully everybody could be concise in deliberations. So let us get started with the agenda. First item we have is Chair's announcements. I have none, so we can move on to 2, which is apologies for absence, and we can do a roll call if that's okay.
Yes, of course. So if members can please confirm if they're present in the meeting room or present online. I'll start with Councillor Peter Paul Barker.
Present online.
Councillor Sue Cooper.
Present in the room.
Thank you. Councillor Maggie Filipova-Rivers.
Present in the room.
Thank you. Councillor Mike Giles.
Present in the room.
Thank you. Councillor Georgina Heritage.
Present in the room.
Thank you. Councillor Lee Rawlings.
Present in the room.
Thank you. Councillor Anne-Marie Simpson.
Present online. It wasn't unmuting for a second, that's why I was waving.
Thank you. And Councillor Tony Morgan.
Present in the room.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Becky. Let's move on then. We have minutes from the 18th of December 2025. So these go back a little bit. I have had a read and they look okay to me. Does anybody have anything they need to mention? Are we all happy to sign those minutes as a correct record?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Unanimous. That's good. Declarations of interest. Does anybody have any disposable pecuniary interest, other registerable interest, or non-registerable, is that the word? Registerable interest, or any conflicts of interest in respect of the items on the agenda? Then, as per usual, if you think of something as we're going through, do flag it with us and we shall note them down. Right, agenda item 5, urgent business. Any urgent matters?
None that I'm aware of.
Neither. Good. Agenda item 6 then, public participation. So we did have a registered speaker originally, but my understanding is they are not able to
Yes,
join.
they've sent their apologies for tonight.
And that was Councillor Sam Casey Verai from Scrutiny, the chair of Scrutiny Committee. But we will have a discussion around those and make sure that we get back to right. Agenda item 7 then is recommendations and updates from other committees. Now we've had 2 sets of scrutiny committees, 2 sets. We have had 2 scrutiny committees and 2 sets of recommendations. Some of those are in your agenda packs. And some Becky will helpfully read out to us. They're not too long. Shall we go through all of them? If that's from both committees for the benefit of those that may be watching us online? Let's do that.
Yeah, I'll run through it. I can also table it in the minutes. So first item they considered was corporate asset management framework. And the committee considered the framework and endorsed its adoption by Cabinet. They were overall supportive of the framework and suggested the following. Number 1, a greater emphasis on non-financial considerations such as social value and environmental/climate change factors. Number 2, consultations to include community groups, ward members and other stakeholders. And 3, that any decisions made following conclusion of an asset challenge process may be reviewed by scrutiny. They also looked at the housing delivery strategy update and action plan, and they reviewed the documents and provided the following comments for Cabinet to consider. The first one is issues with achieving an EPC rating of C or better in listed buildings. Number 2, the affordable category to be split into affordable rent, shared ownership, social rent, first homes and discount market sale. And 3, better presentation of Section 106 funds and how they're allocated. They also resolved that the committee will receive reports on the following items, which is empty homes and the disabled facilities grant. They also considered the 116 to 120 Broadway Didcot report And they agreed to note and support Cabinet's report's recommendations as follows, which is 1, to delegate to the Director of Development and Corporate Landlord and / or the Director of Finance the award of the JCT design and build contract subject to project funding being secured. Also, they approved the transfer of 2.1 million Section 106 funding from provisional to approved capital budget for Phase 2 works. And 3, approved the transfer of £335,472 from Didcot Garden Town capital funding to the Broadway project in respect of to the community space works. They also acknowledged the efforts of officers involved and made the following suggestions. Number 1, that risks related to this particular scheme, including potential delays in receiving funding, are considered. And also 2, that a lessons learned review takes place. And that's all.
Thank you very much. A couple of quickies from me on the corporate asset management framework. You will have seen that there is a supplementary paper which addresses those recommendations. So that's good. And the rest we can hopefully note and discuss as part of papers that are on the agenda for this evening. Some of them are requests for future reports, etc. And I'm sure that officers have taken notes. Yeah.
There was two other points of scrutiny on Tuesday, which I wanted to mention. I was asked to bring forward.
Yeah, please do. Go ahead.
Okay. So the first one was a general question from the Chair of Scrutiny regarding what's happened to the money in the budget for the officer support, because that was voted through at full council. So if that could be advised back to scrutiny, please.
Scrutiny officers.
Yeah. And the second one, just for noting, which was they wanted a separate 6-monthly report on enforcement, and I did persuade the Chair of Scrutiny that could come back in the September meeting because it came to the December meeting. But I did say that I personally was available as Cabinet member responsible in June, and I'd already told Chair of Scrutiny that, and also it'd be after the new head of planning was in place. Yeah. So therefore, going back and providing a report in September would be a better option, which Scrutiny accepted.
So we'll need to take that away. We'll notice. Oh, Nick, did you want to come in? I see you popped up. Our monitoring officer has popped up on the screen.
No, Chair, I was just making myself available in case you had any immediate questions about the scrutiny role, but it sounds like it's all under control. But I'm here if you did, as ever.
Thank you very much.
Can I just clarify where the matter of EPC of C or better was raised under housing? What was the point of that? It was
for listed buildings. For listed buildings, they were concerned that. Yeah, sorry, I was watching you also. Yeah.
Okay, no, thank you.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so as I was cabinet member there, the issue was raised that in many cases it's not physically possible to actually improve the accommodation in a listed building to C or more, just because of the constraints on what you can and can't do with a listed building. So it actually is impossible. Yeah, there is a limit to how far you can go with a listed building.
My other question was this issue about lessons learned from Broadway. Was that essentially that it's taken a bit of time to get here? Yeah. Okay.
I think we can all agree that. Okay. Good. We can again discuss in a little bit more detail when we get to those agenda items. Okay. Now we are off to the first meaty item of this evening, and that is the budget monitoring, which covers April 2025 to December 2025. And we have got to consider the report from Director of Finance. We've got Councillor Peter Barker, who's going to be introducing. He's joining us online, so we'll have to, yes, we will have to do the proposal second in the room. But over to you, Councillor Barker.
Indeed, yeah, thank you. Yeah, so this is up to the end of month 9, end of the calendar year last year. So 3/4 of the last financial year is the point of this report. And Cabinet will remember that we agreed the budget back in February 2025, had a revenue budget of 25.5 million, which since then, as we can see in this report, has increased very slightly to 25.9 with the carry forward of unspent budgets of the previous year. Still on revenue, the forecast is for a slight overspent at that point in the cycle at 245,000. However, as I think we all know, the investment income is expected to exceed the budget considerably by 1.1 million, although that's moving all the time, probably even more now. So that does mean in net terms, there's an underspend forecast of 855,000. Also, just to let the Cabinet know, there are likely to be some budget carry forward requests coming forward quite soon due to year end, and those will be firmed up in the coming weeks. The intention for the in-year forecast underspend of 855,000 that was just mentioned, along with any previous year underspends, is that they've been allocated to previously agreed and committed expenditures such as LGR to cover those costs. Regarding capital, the budgeted approved programme is shown with the states at the end of December. A total of 33 million, against which at that point in time 13.9 million had been spent, and capital programme continues to be reviewed and challenged. We'll get the sort of final report for the full year, of course, in due course, and I recommend the Cabinet notes the report.
Thank you very much, Councillor Barter. Anything to add? We have Anna on the line, don't we? Anything to add from an officer perspective at this point?
No, thank you. That covers everything. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Right, we are into questions now, not debate.
I had 3 points. The finance staff overspend is 238,000, of which we're told LGR is 100,000. And I was just curious, given that falling housing benefit, etc. claims now, what volume increase is it that it's said that the rest is due to volume increase, but what is it the volume increase that's caused the other on cost? So that was one question. The other question I had occurred to me was that up until Q3, the Treasury return is 6 million pretty much dead. And you might think that the four quarters, if it was pro-rated, might be 8 million. But actually the forecast at a time when interest rates are falling is 8.5 million. So I just wondered, is that actually quite right? Or have I missed something? The other point, just to note on the way by, is that the carry forward of capital, which was 17 million, is forecast to be 24 million. I think we're given some of the reasons for that, but you know, things like the North East Didcot Road not being in place and having taken its funding and stuff yet. So we know there's some lumpy reasons why, but it is a little concerning to see the carry forward growing in that way.
Right, these are quite technical and operational, so I will go to Anna. Anna, have you managed to catch all of those? Are you okay to?
I got the first one about finance. I missed parts of the second question. I wasn't sure what that was relating to, so if I can come back to that one. But in relation to the first one around finance, so are you asking a question around the volumes on housing benefit claims? If so, I will need to take that one away.
It was merely that the statement was that the extra cost was caused by growth in volume, and I just didn't quite understand what was driving that.
Okay, I'm just trying to see where that comment is on the report. Apologies.
It's page 8 of
paragraph 8, I think, the second bullet. Long-term absence and an increase in workload. Yeah.
Oh, okay, right. Sorry. Yes. So the increase in workload is just sort of volumes from a perspective of it's across 3 areas within finance. So strategic finance, procurement, and internal audit. So we've got additional and temporary resources, some to cover some long-term absences, but also some to cover some of the extra workload that we are seeing with some of the big, particularly in procurement, with some of the big procurement exercises that we've had to undertake over the last sort of 12 months or so.
Understood.
Yeah.
Understood. Okay, thank you. The second question was about Treasury income. It's 6 million, pretty much dead on for the first 3 quarters. You might think that would therefore mean 8 million for the year, but it's forecast to 8.5 when rates are falling. So I just wondered quite how that comes about.
So I don't have the final figures for the end of year just yet. We're still a little early, but I think we're about on track to get to about the 8.5. It's forecast
Maybe our
based
balance
on,
is greater.
sorry?
Maybe it's our balances a bit greater, are they?
Yeah, so it's based on, because during February and March, we tend to see that we have more ability to invest. Lots of other local authorities look for more cash and pay higher rates. We've actually had some really high rates for short term, but for some higher rated investments. So we do see lots of fluctuations. So we are confident we will get the forecast that we've put into the budget.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anna. That's really helpful to know, and thank you for the work that you do with our investment strategy, treasury strategy. It's good to see how that is helping our budget. Any more questions? Oh, yeah, Councillor Cooper.
Yes, on the capital programme, I wondered if you've got any comments on, Lee actually mentioned that we're likely to have a lot more carry forward than we thought. And I am aware that scrutiny a couple of years ago commented on the number of carry forwards we have in the capital budget, and could we please try and keep to time a bit more, and bearing in mind the last item on the agenda. I think it's a lesson we do need to learn from. So do you have any comments on the capital budgets?
If we start with Councillor Barker, anything on capital profiling? I know it's been a long-standing issue.
Yeah, no, it's an ongoing, piece of work. We all know that expenditure, especially the kind of sizes we're looking at here, have very strict processes that should be followed. It's public money, etc. And obviously what we're trying to do is to align the prediction of when something will be spent with when it's actually spent. But at the same time, we do need to put things in the budget in order that they can be spent. So there's always that tension. And I think what we don't really see in these papers here, which are quite high level, is exactly how that forecast of delivery of a project and expenditure looks over time, and that's maybe what scrutiny wants to look at in a bit more detail.
As I mentioned, there were some lumpy bits there, and it says on pages 9 and 10, the Didcot North Perimeter Road has gone slightly delayed.
Yeah.
The decarbonisation projects at Cornerstone and the leisure centres, purchases of affordable housing, and the vehicle depot for waste. So there are some lumpy things in there that have helped to contribute to this.
And some outside our control.
Yeah.
So I think that's an important one to know. Anna, anything from you on? It was a really good and interesting answer, Councillor Barker.
Yeah, just to say exactly that. There's some of those things that are outside of our control, and it's all about timing. So when you're purchasing houses, for instance, it can be very difficult to tie it down to an exact date and time. So we like to keep the budget there available because we know we're in that process of purchasing houses, and unfortunately some of them will slip into next year. But just to confirm that we are working very closely with all of the project managers across the council to make sure that we are getting hopefully a more robust process going forward.
Thank you. It's so important to know that tension, because what if we didn't have the money to spend, then that's I think worse. So thank you. We are going to go to the recommendation. So this is just to note, are we all happy? Oh, sorry. I will propose this. Is there anybody who would like to say? Yeah, Councillor Rawlings will second it. Do you want to speak, or have we said enough? No.
I think we've essentially said enough. My only point that I would make on the capital roll forward is that we're probably going to see a little bit of burst of extra inflation come through on the back of global events, and that can always bite into the funds when we're trying to make capex projects work. So if there's delay, there is a price to pay.
Yes, but we benefit on the other side as well.
Yeah.
So that.
But yes, support.
Great. Thank you very much. Are we all happy to note this report?
Yes.
Good discussions. Thank you all very much. Unanimous, Becky.
Thank you.
Great. So we are on to agenda item 9, which is the Housing Delivery Strategy Update and Action Plan. an excellent report, which I believe will be introduced by Councillor Morgan.
Thank you, Chair. The comprehensive report before the Cabinet today, which was discussed with scrutiny on Tuesday night, outlines the Council's approach to housing delivery, our performance over the last 12 months, and our plan for the year ahead. It's designed to inform members, as well as a wide range of internal and external stakeholders, including housing associations, developers, landlords, tenants, and the general public. And I'd like to thank Paul and Lorinda and many other members of the team for the fantastic work they've done in getting this together. So briefly, the information contains Appendix 1 shows last year's action plan and progress on delivery. It reflects the work on the new local plan, which underpins the approach to general housing growth, and in turn how we can deliver more social and affordable housing. It reflects the continued work of the council to grow its own stock holdings, which it's doing to support temporary accommodation. But not only is the growth in property numbers important, but also how we ensure that this is done to provide a safe, secure and compliant landlord service that's well communicated to our accommodation users. More information on that will follow through the housing landlord position statement. The appendix also contains a wide range of information about the housing market in the area, including performance of housing associations, strength of the rental market, and the work council is doing to support community housing trusts. And members will recall that we agreed to do some more work on this, and the report is coming back in July on that from the team. Appendix 2 sets out the plan for the year ahead with a continuation of work in many areas. LGR reform limits how many long-term developments we can do, but South plan to continue working hard to deliver and to run through the tape over the next 2 years. Appendix 4 is the refreshed strategy itself. Current strategy was produced in November 22, originally dated to end in 24. But since the inception of the strategy, the council's focus has been on the action plan and delivery of important pieces of work across a number of areas. Considering LGR, though, it's appropriate to formally extend the existing strategy through to 28, providing stability and continuity, the stability through the transition period, and having a great plan in place when the new council starts, whatever it looks like in April 28, is really important. Because if it's a good plan, it's the right plan, then that should be taken forward by whatever the UA is. The presented version takes the originally agreed strategy, refreshes the data and the legislative changes, but maintains the overall strategic approach started 4 years ago. Delivery will continue to be through the annually agreed action plan and will be monitored on an ongoing basis. Overall, the report shows the continued focus of the council on the key objectives in our corporate plan, and that we're focused on continued delivery and support for those organisations which can deliver high quality, locally provided affordable housing. And I'm happy to take any further comments away, and Becky went through a couple of comments provided by the scrutiny committee earlier, all of which I'm happy to accept.
Thank you very much, Councillor Morgan. So we'll go into questions. But actually, even before you do that, I wanted to say thank you so much to the whole team for presenting what is really interesting data. You will see on page, I always keep forgetting because it's quite unclear whether it's page 31, is it, Becky, or page 9 of the report? Anyway, page 31, let's say, which is about how those who are in need of housing and are on our housing register, so that band 1 to 3 has actually grown between April 21 and January 26. It has grown, and of course that is always a worry, but I think we are all aware of the reasons for that. But just really, if anybody's watching, it is a report worth reading, because we can only solve problems when we have a good understanding of what they are. So
the only other point I was going to mention, there was a question from Councillor Barlow at the meeting on Tuesday night about what can we do to significantly change the rate at which we could supply extra housing. And the answer is, unfortunately, it requires significant additional money from central government or the ability to significantly change our budget, none of which is expected to be possible in the near future. So much as we might want to do things significantly differently and significantly better. We are constrained by what we're allowed to do in this regard.
Did you mean the rate at which
Yes, so it
social
was-
versus affordable? Is that
Yeah,
what you meant?
It's if you look at the number of people on there, it's just under 1,700, and at the rate of social rent, that's going to take many years just to clear that of. In reality, we never will.
Okay, thank you so much. Maybe we can also take a view from offices when we get to it on that particular question. Councillor Rawlins.
Just a few comments. Yes, it's a great report. It's a very
Comments
good.
or questions? We're into questions still.
Yeah. Okay. I would. Okay. I would
Do you want to
suggest.
wait? Do you want to wait?
I would suggest that on one thing we could do is to have more CLTs. I think there are willing landowners out there who are prepared to provide land for local affordable homes if they believe they're going to be maintained and in perpetuity, and they'll be available for local people. So they don't really trust RSLs per se, and they're much more reassured if they think the CLT is going to hold that land in perpetuity. So if we want them to contribute, then I think we have to set up the environment in which they can participate. I do know on page 16 or 38 of the pack, the rating of the RSLs, a bit concerning that significant players like Green Square and Sovereign are getting 2s on some of their viability and consumer scores. I would hope that they will soon do better on those, because they're significant players and it is important. I do hope we will continuing to watch with government the 39 billion that they've promised for affordable housing across the country, and that if there's any chance to get a piece of that for our operations, that we're on it. Hopefully we already are. Thank you.
Exactly, quite that. We already are trying. Okay, so I've got a couple of, I hope, questions from, I actually can't see who was first. Councillor Anne-Marie Simpson.
Yeah, mine is, we adopted our current local plan in December 2020, and one of the policies in that around affordable housing was social rent. So I think it was 35% of the allocation, 40% or 50% on the strategic sites out of Oxford were to be social rent. So my question really is, have we, I know it's really difficult to actually achieve that in reality, but have we seen a rise in social rent properties coming forward? And can we, obviously there's a delivery time, a delay, local plan adopted policy will take a while to actually manifest itself in build outs, but I'm wondering if we've seen an increase in social rent housing over the sort of years since 2020, and also what the picture looks like going forward, particularly with governments talking about, or Homes England having money to spend on this area. So I don't know if that's a question for Tony or for...
Yeah, really good question. I can see that Paul Fielding has got his hand up. He's the officer. You could try and answer that question first. Paul, over to you. It's a good question.
Yeah, I'm happy to answer the questions that asked, or would you prefer me to wait for Councillor Barker to questions and then try and answer them all together?
No, let's take them in turn. Let's take them in turn.
So I'll just answer the questions that have been posed so far. So Councillor Rawlins talked about CLTs, and just to come back to the point that Councillor Morgan made, the council approved £60,000 in the budget to help develop CLTs. So we will be bringing that forward with the aim that we are going to be able to help develop CLTs. So hopefully that will satisfy him on that. On the question of social rents, Jamie's on the call, may be able to give some deep data on the number of social rents, but just to pick up on that point of what happening going forward, with the new social and affordable housing programme that Homes England have announced and started back in February, they're very keen that when they give out funds, they are looking for properties to be social rented. So there should be a drive towards properties at the social rent level. So hopefully that will satisfy you there.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. That's a really, really thorough answer there. Councillor Barker, still in questions.
Yeah, thank you. I have a question at the top of page 32. There's bedroom needs breakdown, but as it then explains in the text below, the breakdown that it's showing is from the long-term projection in the joint housing needs assessment. Whereas I think, although it doesn't show it in the report, I've often seen that the actual housing needs register has a very large 1-bedroom component to it.
Mhm.
Also 2, but not very much in the way of 3 and 4. And I'd just like to ask why it is that we have a housing needs assessment, which presumably drives what gets delivered, which is so fundamentally different from what people actually need right now.
I see Paul has got his hand up, and possibly I'm hoping Jamie as well. I remember as part of putting together the joint local plan, it's a question that I noted as well, but I can't for the life of me remember the answer. Paul.
Yeah, I'm happy to give the answer. I mean, Jamie will jump in if I get this horribly wrong, but I think I do understand. So the joint housing needs assessment looks at the total need going forward for all housing across the whole area. Obviously, when we look at our need in banding, we're looking at the need from the housing register. So what are the people on the housing register need, which may be different from the population as a whole, as identified through the housing needs assessment. And when we come to develop the houses that we take on, but also housing associations and developers, we're always trying to balance those two things, because you're right, they don't naturally sit together. So we are trying to find that balance of what does the whole population need and what does that housing needs assessment say going forward, but also what is it that we're needing from the housing register, because the housing register says we need lots of 1-beds, but the future projections, as you see, looks more at 2 and 3 beds. So that's where we need to have a mixed economy of types of property.
Thank you. Thank you. That's helpful. Jamie, did you want to come in as well? I can't see whose hand that is.
Yeah,
Oh,
no,
yeah,
I think what Paul said is accurate. Yeah, it's a difficult question. We have to balance both. We can't ignore one data set and just rely on the other. We do take both into consideration. I guess the issue is a lot of those people who are on 1-bed needs now, in 10 years' time, might be 2 or 3 beds. So you have to prepare for that instance as well. So yeah, it's just a case of balancing what the joint housing needs assessment says we'll need in 10, 15 years to what we need in this current time. So when we look at developments coming forward, we do look at both data sets and balance it the best we can.
And Jamie, there's no way to kind of negotiate with developers so that a more current need is met before they build out.
So when we get through applications, we always take a look at what that need in that specific parish is in particular. So we can negotiate those things, obviously bearing in mind that those developments might take 5 years to build out, and that need may well be different at that point. But yeah, we do look at the individual parish stuff, because one parish might need more 2 beds, one parish might need more 1-beds, etc. So we do take that into consideration.
Thank you so much, Jamie. Councillor Cooper has a question.
Well, it was a comment on what you said, actually, because it's something I've been pondering on for years, because developers want to build the site to maximise their profits, and they make more profit from selling a big house, albeit with a small garden, than they will on selling little houses. And the planning system is totally written around numbers of dwellings, not numbers of bed spaces, which it ought to be, really. I mean, if you wrote the plans, the local plans, in terms of how many bedrooms you've got to provide, you could have the option of having, for example, we've got what looks like a big square house in Benson. It's actually 4 1-bedrooms, one on each corner, if you know what I mean. But you could equally well divide that into 2 2-bedroom houses, or 1 4-bedroom. You will need a bit more space around the edge if you have more units. But I feel that in planning we ought to be more flexible and say that, you know, it's the number of bedrooms that's going to be important. I mean, it's probably a national issue. I'm not sure whether we can do anything about it at all. But that's why the problem arises.
Thank you. Thank you for that. We're kind of drifting into, I think Mike was next. Councillor Giles.
So just in terms of this,
We're still into questions, though.
yes.
Okay,
So,
good.
question for Councillor Morgan. So, broadly, obviously, supportive of all of this. My question more generally around housing in the district was, how much importance do you place on the need for relevant infrastructure and housing, for example, GP surgeries to go along with housing? How important do you think it is to actually offer a comprehensive holistic solution?
It's incredibly important, and it fills my inbox and social media comments all the time. I mean, particularly in Didcot on Great Western Park, with regard to the last house having been built in 2021. And here we are over 5 years later, and we still have no GP surgery. Obviously, if that was entirely within the control of this council, it would have been built by now. But it's not within our control. We play a factor, but it's the health board who have the responsibility for providing. And I know our officers are working hugely busily, doing huge amounts of work to get that over the line. There's been an announcement in the last 2 weeks about the provider of a developer, but it's cautious optimism. But I think it's really key that all the facilities that people need should come with it. And I'd almost like us to be a bit more as stringent with granting conditions for this, but probably that's unreasonable, and there's not a lot we can do with regard to being too strict. But I really, really would like to see all of that come on board much more quickly during the development life. But we are limited by NPPF about what we are allowed, the conditions we're allowed to impose. But yeah, would like to be able to do far more and be a little bit more prescriptive about when developers provide things.
And when is the operative word there? Because it really should be in the sky, and I think it's something that we have always maintained. And I know there's huge number of campaigners, representatives of different tier governments as well that are very much pushing for this, and I think it's only fair to communities. Councillor Rawlins, is it a question?
I think it is, yes. I completely agree with what Sue was saying about how bedrooms in general. But when it comes to affordable housing, there is a number of reasons why one bedrooms are mitigated against. Firstly, in terms of when we choose the mix, it's a combination of the view of the registered social landlords and our own housing officers as to what the need is stated to be. And if you think about it, we rank the people on our housing register according to social need. It therefore follows that those needs which involve kids will be higher up the list. Therefore, the priority needs are likely to go to those needing 2 and 3 bedrooms, even if there's a long tail of 1 bedroom needs with a lower point score. The second point is that RSLs think about this in terms of asset and ownership considerations, and they've expressed to me in the past that 1 beds often are flats and have complex property rights and obligations in blocks of flats and so forth. So they find them more difficult to get debt against and more difficult from an asset value point of view. And they also say the thing about a 1 bedroom property is it's utterly inflexible, whereas a 2 bed offers a better range of flexibility on changes of tenant and so forth. So they have a tendency to lean away from 1 beds. Just a comment. Totally question I've got.
Do you agree?
We are going into debate now. Councillor Rawlins is banned. He said all that he could.
It's already Harry's contribution.
Yes, you have had your contribution. So I'm going to open for debate. Councillor Heritage.
I would just like to speak. I haven't asked a question, but I particularly wanted to comment on this report.
Sorry to interrupt you. I have forgot to ask for a proposer.
Sorry.
And a seconder. Does anybody want to second? I'm happy to. Yeah, go ahead.
Second.
Yeah,
then in that
as
case.
you're speaking. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? I'll say what I was going to say from the perspective of seconding this, because I found this a really fascinating set of papers, and it was such a comprehensive and forward-thinking strategy and report. It's sensible to extend the strategy. Pleased to see the level of detail that was examined to ensure that the strategy recognises the changing scene, if you like, you know, in terms of policy, financial and so on, and it reflects new pressures and demands. I was pleased to see how much support is offered to stakeholders. I read the report with great interest, and interesting to see the bedroom needs breakdown in the joint housing needs assessment, as we've discussed, and the attention to homelessness, rough sleeping, the focus on decarbonisation, which is something I'd like to see more of on a national level. The action plan is very comprehensive too, very proactive approach from the council, and I just want to say that I'm very happy to support this, and I thank officers for this excellent work.
Thank you so much, Councillor Heritage. Anything in summing up, Councillor Morgan, or do we have any other debate? I'm hoping we can move on to summing up.
I just want, yeah, if you want me to sum up, I mean, it's just, Paul, if you could come back on the screen, because I'd just like to say thank you for this. It's absolutely fantastic.
And Jane.
And Jane. So thank you both very, very much indeed. It's really, really great. And the work you do makes my job sitting here much easier. So thank you very, very much indeed. And I'll just end by saying, and I've mentioned this a couple of times, which is, this is fantastic. It'd be lovely to do more. There's a plaque 100 yards from my house that celebrates the 1,000th house that the council built since the war, and it was in 1955. And it would be lovely to be back somewhere near that again. But it's great to see that we are actually managing to head the right way. So thank you to officers for the report, and I'd like support for the report.
Thank you very much. Can we all agree the recommendations? Which would you like to read them out, Becky? Are you happy to read them out?
We can read out, or we can take them as written in the report.
We can take them as written. They're quite lengthy, yes, and we are running over time. So can we all agree the recommendations?
Yep.
Very good. Thank you so much. So moving on then to agenda item 10, and this is the way ahead, the annual delivery plan. The way ahead is our fancy name for our corporate plan. So this is the annual delivery plan 26-27, and it will be introduced by Councillor Giles.
Yeah, thank you. So we obviously have our wider corporate plan, which was agreed some time ago, and what the delivery plan is looking to do is to operationalise that over the next 12 months or so, the series of targets to try and hold us to account and broadly make sure we're actually working towards those strategic objectives. It's not comprehensive. There are other things, for example, in the Nature and Climate Action Plan, which are not within the annual delivery plan. We are still doing them. There are various other things that obviously officers are working hard doing that are not given a specific metric in this report. So I will labour to say that because we will inevitably get queries from others about this, and we indeed have done. We presented what I think is a pretty comprehensive and really good plan to scrutiny a few weeks back. Sam, I don't think is on the call in the end, and her committee were broadly favourable of that, and generally asked a series of useful and fair questions. There were three areas which scrutiny raised, and I will just for cabinet rather to consider. So I will briefly touch on those now. The three were the involvement of farmers, which is not specifically mentioned in any of the metrics, but as I say, is in the Nature and Climate Action Plan. So hopefully that will reassure Crispin, who was asking around that, obviously wanting to support farmers in his ward and more generally, which is very much understandable. But we do have action and metrics on that. Sam asked about flooding, and clearly we have invested more in the last budget on flooding. We have had various schemes done in the past as well, for example, in Watlington, Wheatley West, and even Courtney. And obviously we are working with the county council as well. So again, that work is ongoing and you know is an important part of what we do. We're obviously very keen to support communities affected by flooding and take it very seriously. And Councillor Farlow, as he does each year, asked about ethical investment. And obviously, again, as a council, we and the Devon administration, we what ethics underpin almost everything we do, and it's great that he's asked about that. Obviously, we have to work within Treasury management agreements and requirements, and so that is you know how we have to operate in terms of investment, but we obviously will go as far as we can to be as ethical and thoughtful as possible, but that is obviously a constraint that we work with. So I guess what that addresses those points. I guess what I'm asking today is to put this to Cabinet to take forward as was proposed to scrutiny. So with no specific changes, just to progress it accordingly. So, thank you.
Thank you so much. Just before we go into questions, I just want to take this opportunity when it comes to flooding. Many of you will know that we have a small but mighty team of flooding engineers, and every week or so I find out about some flooding work that they're doing in yet another ward, and just recently I found out about actually quite extensive work that they're supporting the parish council with in Whitchurch. And so I doubt we'll have who do they fall under? Would they fall under technical services? So yeah, just to say thank you so very much. What I would love is at some point to look at bringing a report on all the different schemes, because there are a lot more than we have come across, and I think it would be really good from a kind of data perspective to understand, well, what are the issues. You know, and is there anything else that we need to be considering, or indeed the future authority? I think it would be a good exercise because some of the work is very much behind the scenes with communities on the ground, and they're very well respected. Councillor,
just to comment on what you said, because I got quite involved in these, I guess, because I'm Cabinet member for the environment, but it does require quite a lot of working with other agencies, because we get grants from the EA towards this work often, but the county are also involved because we do work to do with flooding on an agency agreement with them. So it's the ability to work over all those three organisations, if not more, often with the parish council as well.
And I would say Lee Travers, who is the officer, and I hope he doesn't mind being named in this positive context, is very good at working in partnership with us.
And his boss is also extremely good. Yeah.
And what is his boss's name?
You're going to ask me. It's David something.
Oh yeah. Right, I have just been reminded. Oh, actually, let's go to Andrew Busby, and then we can go to our monitoring officer wants to mention something.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, good evening, Cabinet. Yes, to say it was David Bell, who's Lee Travers' line manager, and John Backley. So I'll pass all that praise on. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good. Okay, so I have been asked to call on our monitoring officer to come in to set out some of the LGR context for us, and specifically around section 24. So Nick Bennett, would you like to come in on this to clip our wings?
Thank you, Leader, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak to you. Just to say before I start, I'm doing this after discussions with your Section 151 officer Simon Hewins and his deputy, one of his deputies, Anna, who's here as well today, in case anyone has any related questions coming out of that side of the statutory triangle. Members of Cabinet, the context of local government reorganisation and devolution is moving forward pretty fast at the moment, as you'll know. And as we're getting close to the changes, the restrictions and guidance upon what can be undertaken by existing authorities is becoming far clearer for us. And I have to say as well, more impactive upon the decisions you're going to be making. So firstly, the government has issued now a letter from the Secretary of State advising that councils should start acting in a manner which reflects the coming of reorganisation. And I know members are aware of that, but I'm grateful for the opportunity to mention that in a public setting. Those duties are increasing the nearer we come to the go-live date of 1st of April 2028. Now, secondly, we are under an increasingly strong duty to consider the interests of the future residents of those coming authorities, to preserve the structures, assets and people who will deliver for the communities, not only today, as you already do, but into the future. This council will need to make decisions mindful of not harming the ability to create those new authorities or tying the hands of those new authorities as they take forwards the banner of supporting our communities. Members will be aware from recent guidance of the wider processes around the period to the election of the new council, sometimes referred to as the first transition period. And within 14 days of the structural changes order, those processes to create the new authorities will then be underway. So it is very imminent. This leads to questions which have come from several members and more broadly about what the council should do through to the new authorities being formed or starting to be formed. Now, the Oxfordshire Structural Changes Order is expected to be implemented shortly after the local elections scheduled in May 2025. While we don't know that decision or have sight of 2026, I'm so sorry. Whilst we do not know the decision or have sight of that order, and related directions from government, we can now see what has been provided to other councils, in particular the Surrey councils, whose shadow council elections are also taking place next month, and with their new councils going live in 2027. This is helpful to give us a framework and an understanding of what is being done elsewhere and is therefore likely to be done through our area. It also allows the monitoring officer and the Section 151 officer to provide you with clear direction about what restrictions and freedoms the authority will be subject to through that period. Now, the council, just to be very complete, the council will continue to be able to deliver its statutory services and complete existing and formalised contractual arrangements to deliver them. So if new statutory duties are given to local authorities, the council will still be required to fund and run those services pending that reorganisation. However, non-statutory services, which the council has already built into budgets, can also continue in their existing form if the Cabinet continues to choose to do so, and if full council continues to agree budgets in future budgetary processes. So the community we serve will continue to be supported tomorrow in the same way that it was yesterday and today. However, there are restrictions coming, as you will not be able to spend larger sums on new non-statutory work. This includes significant changes to those areas. So, as well as absolutely new areas, also includes changes within the activities which you are responsible for. Whilst there is some scope for minor spend, the professional judgment of the statutory officers is that we should immediately be limited to spend of up to £100,000 of non-capital spend on any element of non-statutory work which is changing from your existing plans. Even then, such projects will require careful consideration as to whether resources can deliver those changes without impacting the efforts to prepare for reorganisation and devolution. Nor will the council be able to make changes which cause a significant negative impact upon the budgets passed forwards to the shadow authority. As your officers work cross-regionally to match services and establish the baselines of future authority structures, changes we recommend would need to be as limited as possible. This limited spending and activity restriction will mean that even opportunities may need to be delayed or lost in that period. This is sadly unavoidable. This restriction will loosen once the second transition period starts, as the council will be able to take direction on major strategic matters from that shadow council. But the period from the structural changes order to the election of the new council will be a time of great restriction for this council and indeed all predecessor councils across the country. Capital spending will also be restricted from this point. A maximum of £1 million should be spent on any capital project. Again, if such a project has a significant impact upon the shadow authority, then the council will be unable to take forwards new projects of that kind at this time. And finally, because this came up again at scrutiny several times, even if not caught by the capital limit above, disposals of land are not able to be made at this time without a specific legal assessment being carried out by the monitoring officer and the 151 officer. Leader, again, I'm grateful for the opportunity to go through this. I know these are difficult messages. I know that you came into politics to deliver different things than managing some of this, but they are important messages and they need to be clearly in your mind as an executive so that you are fully aware of those restrictions. Leader, I'm here for any questions that come out of that, but or after this meeting as needs be.
Thank you. Again, I almost called you Councillor Bennett every time because we do have a Councillor Bennett. Thank you so much to the monitoring officer. Obviously, these are things that we have anticipated. These are numbers that we have heard before. Obviously, it's helpful for those to be stated also in a public meeting. But I would be grateful for when the actual restrictions do crystallize and become formalized. It would be really good to have those to hand. It's not so much for this meeting, but I'm conscious that we do have asked officers for a couple of reports that may incur spending, and I'm a little bit concerned about the timing that may come forward and whether it will meet that threshold. But I will take that away offline for now. I don't know who was first. Who would like to? Okay, Councillor Rowan.
I think that question of the £1 million capital may need a bit of interpretation. It's become our pattern now to buy some housing. If we want to buy a house, we can buy it from well within £1 million. But if we rope all the houses in together, we may be in breach of £1 million. And I don't really think it would be appropriate for us to stop that programme and not do the things that have become our pattern of activity to do. So I hope that we will be able to find enough wiggle room there to do what we need to do.
Especially as it's not huge numbers.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I think we should do keep what. Nick Bennett would like to come in. Nick, go ahead.
I just wanted to reassure you that where decisions and budgets have already been set, that you will continue, your officers will continue to be able to deliver those things. So in the housing case, there is a budget there already. What I'm talking about is significant changes and new projects, particularly where you need to be focusing your concerns. Just to reassure you, okay?
Councillor Rawlins.
Easy mistake to make, isn't it?
Oh, I've become Catherine now.
So I'd just like to thank Nick for that. Nick, you've been briefing us on this as we're going along, and the figures do seem largely in line, or possibly a tiny bit more than we've been possibly constraining ourselves. Do you actually see anything particularly within the budget that is causing you a red light to flash at the moment?
It's the new stuff.
No, and I work closely with Simon around that. Now, I can't say that something won't come along where projects budgets sometimes evolve, and your hands will be more tied than they were had LGR not happened. But at the moment, there are no red lights. What I'm really giving you is a whole bunch of gentle amber lights that we're going to need to keep a close eye on all of these budget lines as we go. And again, that's why Anna is here, so she's part of that message, as she and Simon fully understand, and my lawyers supporting them fully understand that if there are significant changes come along the way, that we may be more impacted than we've realised. But we will continue to try and deliver those services to the best of our abilities. But the time is now arriving that we are going to have to start cutting our cloth.
Thank you. Please, concise questions and answers, if that's okay. We are really running over time.
Yeah,
Sorry, Chair.
I'll be quick. So obviously, in the legal sphere, there's interpretations and people can argue two sides of the coin. I'm hoping, trusting, assuming that we're going to be quite, if we need to be, quite activist and be quite forthright in how we interpret and how we present our position. I just wanted to clarify whether that's the understanding from others.
That's a little bit of a subjective question. I am sure that our monitoring officer will give us a very thorough and objective view of the situation and on the basis of which we can take a measured approach. So I don't think that needs answering at this moment in time. I do want just to say that this current action plan has been developed very much with LGR in mind. This is not a new message to any of us. And I don't want you to feel disheartened either that we'll be sitting on our laurels during that transition period. There are exciting things to get involved in. Whatever we leave behind as our legacy, plaques included, I think it is effectively what the successor authority will work off for a considerable time. So it is exciting work, leaving a nice legacy behind, and ultimately I'm sure some of the councillors will then take it forward as part of the shadow and successor authority as well. So don't be disheartened. It is quite exciting. We are working at the moment as Oxfordshire leaders. There has been a presentation around next steps. I have asked about councillor involvement. We are going to start with an exciting sort of blankish sheet and start working on transition. I hope that is going to be some reassurance as well. I'm trying to sandwich our monitoring officers not so good news with something positive. All right, let's move on then. Where are we, Becky? Where are we? What do I need to do now?
No more questions.
Okay. Do we have any questions on the delivery plan, annual delivery plan, or the way ahead? No. Into debate. Let's refocus back on the actual proposals. Oh, before we go do that, we need obviously a proposal. Do we have a second there? Councillor Morgan, thank you. No problem. It's the name. It's not the visual. I promise you, it is the name.
Twigs.
Right, into debate now.
Yeah.
Have we said enough?
That's fine.
I think we put a lot of work into this. It's been through a lot of review. I think it's ready.
All right then. Can we all adopt the recommendations as stated? Good. Right. My chairing is terrible today. Okay, so we are now going to agenda item 11, which is the proposed adoption of nature recovery on council-owned land. It's on starts on page 104 for those of you following your agenda pack, and I believe it is Councillor Barker that will introduce it. Councillor Barker, no? Is it Councillor Giles? It's really difficult to know which one it is, but in any way, it would be good to hear from both of you. Councillor Giles.
Yeah, thank you. The council's had a really positive and really successful scheme so far around allowing tree planting on council-owned land, and thanks to officers and those involved with that at the time. What the proposal here before everyone today is to look at how we can expand that going into nature recovery more generally. So not just the planting of trees, but it also might involve things like wildflower meadows or infrastructure to offer bees the ability to fly in and whatever else they get up to. It's a really positive proposal because it's aimed at community groups who can either provide that at no cost to the council or potentially apply for grants where applicable and provide that offering. And the paper itself does go into detail, like making sure that people have the relevant insurance so that there isn't any liability on the council. So I would suggest that it's a bit of a no-brainer, to be honest, to do this policy and that Cabinet should take it forward. But if Councillor Barker has anything further to add, that's great. That's really all I got to say.
Thank you, Councillor Giles. That's excellent. Yeah, we do have both of your names on this report, so I'll go to Councillor Barker if you wanted to add anything at this stage.
Yeah, just to say, I think this is a significant improvement on the existing, tree planting policy on council-owned land that we have. So, yeah, definitely support making this change.
Thank you very much, Councillor Barker. Do we have any questions? rolling.
It's a question in a way. I would just like to suggest that we might consider making this available to every parish and town council, because I think it's a great report, and the issues that it covers would, I think, be helpful to parish and town councils when they're looking at their land and what they might do to go down this path. So I think that would be, it's a question as to whether we can do that, but hopefully we can.
I'm sure once it's adopted, it's something that we can note down to send in the next parish and town newsletter, if that's okay.
I think a copy to clerks, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a heads up that we have done it. You might find it useful. Something along those lines is probably sufficient. Okay, any more questions? No questions. Do I have a proposer, and do we have a second? Councillor Rowlands? No, I'm going to getting it wrong. Anything further to add? Any summing up? No, we're good to. Are we happy to then adopt the recommendations which are stated on page 104? All agreed, unanimous. Thank you very much. Now I'm speeding up a little bit. Agenda item 12, which is the corporate asset management framework, which I believe is Councillor Barker this time.
Yes, it is. This item asks Cabinet to adopt the corporate asset management framework. It's an underpinning of the corporate landlord model, which, as we know, implemented a year ago. And this would establish a single framework for the management of council-owned land and buildings, setting out the policies, strategies, and the governance arrangements that would guide asset decision-making. The report that we have before us was called into scrutiny just a couple of days ago. Scrutiny members had a good discussion and endorsed adoption of this while making a number of recommendations. So some amendments have been made in the paper that we have before us now. Scrutiny emphasised that asset decisions should not be driven solely by financial performance, and I strongly agree with that. And scrutiny members highlighted the importance of social value, environmental and climate considerations, which, yeah, we definitely believe that those are important considerations in any decisions that are made. Scrutiny also sought reassurance that there would be meaningful engagement with ward members, town and parish councils, community groups, and so on. And again, we were able to confirm that. So scrutiny resolved that there should be in the asset challenge process a stronger and explicit emphasis on social and environmental considerations, as well as financial factors, and the consultation, as we just mentioned. Officers have reflected on those comments, and although they're not contradictory to the direction of the paper that was already in front of us, it's been useful to make that more explicit in the text. And so those changes have already been made in the paper that's before us. In terms of why this matters for South Oxfordshire, it's because our assets support our frontline services, housing delivery, community use, regeneration, climate action and biodiversity. And so this framework introduces a consistent and transparent approach to how we review and challenge the use of our assets and balance all those considerations. Adopting this now will strengthen our position as the council moves forward into the local government reorganisation process. It ensures that our assets are well governed, clearly understood, and that decisions are robust and auditable during the transition period. And I therefore recommend that Cabinet adopts the CAMF. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Barker. I was just trying to figure out an acronym that would work. Great. So do officers have anything to add at this stage? I just want to thank Adrian Butler. It's really, really interesting report, and I think we are better off for having this in place. Does Andrew or Adrian or anybody want to add anything at this stage?
Thank you, Chair. Nothing further to add. Just to join what you mentioned, to thank Adrian for pulling this report together and working across all service units. So my thanks, and yeah, really pleased with this report and it being presented to you this evening. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much.
Add something, Chair. Sorry, it's Adrian Butler. May I add something?
Hi, Adrian.
Hello there.
Of course, yes. Hi, Adrian.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Good evening to everybody. I just wanted to add that to what Councillor Barker is saying and emphasise that the asset challenge process in the corporate asset management framework is not an isolated process. So we would still, as officers and members, in deciding how we're going to utilise our assets, take into account the high-level policies and the intermediate strategies that we've drafted. And of course, whilst there are strategies and policies relating to finance issues, there are other policies that relate to other issues such as climate change, nature recovery, for example, healthy and safe communities, for example. So there is an emphasis in the camp on value, not solely being financial, but also social and environmental value. Thank you.
Thank you. Please do stay there, Adrian, if that's okay. I'm going to use my chair's privilege to ask you a question. I think it was mentioned by Councillor Barker as well, that having this framework is going to be really helpful in the transition process. I just wondered whether you're aware of any kind of neighbouring authorities or indeed in Oxfordshire that have such a framework. You may not have the answer now, but it would be really good to understand where are we late to the party? Are we ahead? Do they have something? Have we done any benchmarking to see what's happening locally?
Yes, thank you. So West Berkshire, for example, they have an asset management framework. It's called something different as an asset management plan in their instance, but basically it's the same as what we're trying to achieve here, as do Oxfordshire County Council, and I believe West Oxfordshire District Council have one. But theirs are obviously in place already, so I guess ours is more up to date compared to theirs, I guess, if we adopt the document, that is.
Thank you. That's really helpful to know. So I guess as part of the transition, we can see which one's better and go with that one. Excellent. Councillor Rowland.
This is a question.
I'm glad to hear it.
just to ask if Vale of Whitehorse have already approved this, because one of the options is that we might approve it independently in the event that they chose not to endorse it. But if they've already endorsed it, that scarcely arises, because obviously this is written jointly. But if I'm supporting it, and if it were the case, which I can't imagine will happen, but if it were the case that they weren't supporting it, I would think it would be right to go ahead anyway.
Yes, thank you. It's being presented to...
Yeah, go ahead, Adrian.
I'm sorry, Chair. Yes, in answer to that question, it is being presented to Vale Cabinet tomorrow morning for seeking adoption as well.
Okay, so
it is appropriate then to cover the standalone.
Great. Any more questions?
I'd like to propose that we adopt it.
Okay.
Very sensible looking document. Thank you.
Thank you. So Sue's proposing. Do we have a seconder? Let's vary it around. Yeah.
Happy to
no.
Just
Councillor Heritage.
Oh, sorry.
All right. Do we have any debate? No.
No, only that we cover that option. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we'll note that down and if that one way.
We would like to adopt it anyway, regardless of what the Vale does.
Yeah. Noted. Yes. Very good. Can we all agree the recommendation? Unanimous? Good. Okay. We are on to property asset acquisition policy, agenda item 13 on page 158. And we've got Councillor Barker again introducing this. Over to you.
Thank you. Yeah, so again, this is a policy that Cabinet are recommended to introduce for the Council, specifically around the approach by which the Council will acquire land and buildings. It supports the Way Ahead Council Plan, which we've just debated and approved by way of homes and infrastructure that meet local needs, participation, accessibility, financial stability, innovative transformation, and action on climate change and nature recovery. The only other point I wanted to briefly make is that this is also in response to a SIPFA recommendation to have an acquisition policy in place, and so it's deemed sensible to make sure that this is put in place now. Thank you.
Okay, we've got a quick question from Councillor.
Yes, a question. I just note that there's no reference here to the Levelling Up and Regeneration Act, which is passing through Parliament, which is making material changes to compulsory purchase. So I just think we ought to note that. I don't think it's an issue right now, but it's something which may impact on this.
Okay, thank you. We can minute that. Great. Do we have any other questions on this? It's just a sensible thing to have. From my perspective, well, actually, let's go into debate and we can have a little discussion. That's okay. But no more questions. Nothing from the officers. It's Karen Lister's report. I don't know if Karen is on the call. Anything you would like to add at this stage? Oh,
Thank you, Chair. No, just to note that the comments from Councillor Rawlins, it's been captured in the policy, and obviously it will be delegated to give any minor amendments as well, which we'll make sure we capture as legislation changes. But thank you very much for the feedback.
Yeah, thank you. As we normally do, anyway. we have the occasional review to make sure we are on brand. Okay, so we need a proposer and seconder. Okay, and I'll go just for a bit of variation. I will second, and Councillor Giles will propose. Do you have anything to add, or just formally propose thing? Councillor Giles?
No, I'm pleased that we're formalising it and nothing further.
Right. Yes. Okay, so can we all agree? Oh, sorry, no, we're into debate. So, anything from anyone?
Good idea.
Good idea.
All right, let's go with that. I mean, the only thing I was going to say is that obviously, we heard from our monitoring officer around LGR and the implications of that, and of course, acquisition of assets will become subject to Section 24. Is it Section 24? Yeah. So obviously. I think it's helpful to have a strong policy position following LGR, but just a little note before our monitoring officer pops up and tell us to not be too excited about it. All right. Can we all agree the recommendations as set out on page 158 in? Okay. So for the next agenda item, we need to consider, there are some commercial sensitivities, so we need to consider whether to exclude the public, so exclude members of the press and public from the meeting with the following items of business under Section 12A of the Local Government Act 1972 as amended on the grounds that it is likely that there will be a disclosure of exempt information as defined in paragraph 3 of Schedule A of paragraph 3 of Schedule 12A, and public interest in maintaining the exception outweighs public interest in disclosing the information. Right, wonderful. Are we all happy to exclude members of the public and press at this stage? Do we need a proposer or second of this one, or are you happy to just all agree?
All hands agreed is fine.
All right, we need to stop the stream, I think.
Brilliant. Susie, please can you stop the broadcast? Brilliant. Thank you. For your awareness, the whole item is confidential, so you'll be fine to close up shop.